Welcome to Hats On.
Today I'm joined by someone who knows firsthand that the career doesn't follow a straight line. She's a senior leader at one of the world's major pharmaceutical companies, with years spent at the intersection of innovation, technology, and digital transformation. In 2015, she received the Donna Tick Award for her work on inclusion, and she's the co founder of Women in Mobile, an initiative that made women visible in this sector. She's a mom of an 8-year-old. But what interests me most about her today isn't on her LinkedIn. It's in the conversation she has had the courage to start about IVF, about professional uncertainty, about what it means to reinvent yourself when the world around you is reinventing itself too. And on a very personal note, she's my sister and my guide alongside my career. Welcome, Vanessa. I'm really glad you're here.
Thank you, Laia, for inviting me. It's a real pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Vanessa. Your career has been what some people would call unconventional. I'll call it honest. Can you walk us through that journey? Not the CB version, but the real one.
Well, it's true that I felt like a salmon many years in my career.
Mhm.
I studied in a business school where your next natural step is to go into or to move into the corporate or consulting world. And instead, I moved into the startup world. I discovered the startups, and it was back in 2007 here in Barcelona, where many people didn't know what startup meant. So from there, I started some started on my own, then a consultancy firm, and finally I moved to the corporate world. And
Mhm.
currently, I'm in my second big corporate or big company, in and working at Sanofi. And it's true. I mean, it's not a normal journey, or but it gave me a point of view and a knowledge that probably I wouldn't have. I'm sure I would have some others.
Super interesting. And what was the hardest decision you ever made in your career? And what did you lose and what did you gain out of that?
The hardest decision was to tell myself at the beginning of my career, well, I was, let's call it into commas, playing with startups to stay focused on my journey. I was seeing my colleagues, my university colleagues, in their corporate companies with super nice salaries, super successful careers, and I felt in the middle of a battlefield. Sometimes with a lot of ups and downs, and super alone because one of the things that being an entrepreneur is that sometimes you're very alone. So it was hard, and it was hard to stay focused, but I thought that it was what I had to do, and I'm proud I took that decision and I stayed focused on my career.
Not an easy path, definitely. And throughout the journey, what changed in how you understand leadership and influence over those years? What did an earlier version of Vanessa believe about leading that you no longer believe?
One of my first managers taught me in a hard way what the kind of manager or leader that I don't want to be. And and leadership, I mean, I didn't know what leadership meant when I was studying. You can read a lot of books, or you can or professors can share with you some theoretical ideas of what leadership is, but at the end, leadership, or what you learn what leadership is when you are working and being a leader. I mean, you don't need to be a manager, you can always lead. And this first manager that I had was an example of micromanaging manager, tracking all the minutes, so it was like if you're not in front of the screen, you're not working. So there are many things that even if I was very young and it was one of my first experiences, I knew that that was not what I wanted or how I wanted to lead. So that was my first learning, and through the years where I've been acquiring, or I love to read and I love to learn from books, but the easiest way I learn is by experience. I mean, by doing, learning by doing. So when I cross into my path a good leader, a good manager, I try to absorb what I like from them. And one of the last things I learned is that mm, no matter in which state, in which position you are of an organization, you can reach out to everyone. So, and that's something that it was new for me very recently, because this pyramid for me was seen as something not unreachable, or not to it was not unreachable to be to reach the CEO and talk to him or to her, but it was something that it was difficult. So a mentor suggested to me that, hey, start doing these approaches and start talking with everyone. I mean, up, down, at the same level. And for me, it's another way of leading, to be able to start a conversation with no matter who, and show, I mean, not being nervous, nor being being yourself, and have this conversation. So yes, I mean, leadership again is something that I'm sure I will continue learning in the coming years.
Very interesting point around you don't need to be a manager to be a leader, and equally some of our internal barriers that go alongside our experiences. So super interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Following that thought, a lot of people are talking about redefining success in their 40s. Have you? And what did success mean before, and what does it mean for you now?
Success for me, it's being happy with what I'm doing. I'm feeling that I'm aligned with what I'm doing. What is success in the future? What was success in the past? Well, it's true that many people that it redefines their path in their 40s. I have a feeling that I redefined my path earlier in my 30s when I decided that I wanted to jump into the corporate world. So I'm not planning to redefine my career in the coming years. Who knows? I mean, maybe one day I wake up and I feel that I need to redefine something, but not for now. But well, you ask about success. When I decided to jump into the corporate world, one of the reasons why I decided to do this change was because I felt that being in my little own company was not enough to show and give visibility to what women are doing. I mean, for me, it's very important to have role models. So, being the queen in my castle in my own consultancy, I felt that I was not able to be a role model for other women. So I thought that jumping into the corporate world would help me with that. So I mean, achieving this change was success at that time, and I think that continuous growing as a professional and as a person will be my success in the coming years. This will be to grow within an organization. I don't know. I mean, if this is if I feel like this is aligned with my values and my purpose, for sure, yes. Mm, but for now, let's say today, success is continue my learning path.
I like the continuous learning idea. And you just mentioned around the importance of role modeling women. And I believe it's very connected with who you are. And that's why, before we talk about women in mobile, I wanted to understand the context where it was born. So, where did the idea come from? Was it just a specific moment, a conversation, something that you experienced even yourself, or a thought that, hey, this has to change?
The image that started women in mobile was the following picture. a conference venue, for example, the Mobile World Congress, where you have the female and male restrooms, and the only room or the only door that has that long line is the women one, which is the one that we are used to, is the men one. So after seeing this long line in the male bathroom in not only in the Mobile World Congress, but in many other tech conferences, I realized that something was happening, and then I started to meet w- different women that were also attending these tech conferences, and I had the opportunity to meet Caroline, um, and we were completely aligned that this wasn't normal. We decided that we had to do something to change this situation. So we started Women in Mobile because we realized that we were some women in the tech sector, but we did not attend as much the conferences, the tech conferences. And back then, we were not at stage. I mean, I remember the first Mobile World Congress that I attended, and maybe it was more than 10 years ago, but not that far away. And there were less than 5% of female keynote speakers. Today, I mean, you can check. I mean, we have the Mobile
Mm.
World Congress next week here in Barcelona, and this year I haven't checked, but last year it was more. It was around 40% of female keynote speakers. So there are many things that have changed in these 10, 15 years. And I'm proud to say that we have influenced in some of that. I mean, we have partnered at the beginning with the Mobile World Congress. We have partnered with many other conferences happening here in Barcelona. And we also organized one of the first of Mobile World Congress events where we put on stage different women to talk about technology. And they were super expert. Were super well known, and they were the most expert women or person, let's say, the most expert person in that area, and they yeah share with us their knowledge.
It's wonderful to see the evolution of these 10 years and still some work to do on the path, but from a 5% to 40%, it's huge achievement. And just related to that, in actually over 10 years ago, you received the Donatic Award. What did that recognition mean for you? Was it validation, responsibility? Was it the opening of something new for you?
I think as you're saying, it was a validation that what we have started was needed and and valued, and it reinforced that the message that what we were doing was good and yeah, and also well received by the society. No, no, it was a surprise, and it was very at the beginning of Women in Mobile.
And in these 10 years, going back to the point that you are making, what do you think has changed and it still needs to change?
I think that we have shown that diversity is positive for business results, let's say, because this is completely true. But let's say the society has changed a lot and we have evolved, but I'm sure that we will move back again some steps to move forward again some other steps. It's a never ending path. I don't think that we can say, hey, we have achieved everything that we wanted. No, no, no. I mean, unfortunately, all kind of diversity are very positive. We have seen that they have positive effects in teams, in business results, etc., etc. But we cannot stop sharing this message.
Mhm. And we stay with that. We cannot stop with that message. And I just wanted to shift a little bit the gears now because there's a part of your story you've chosen to tell out loud, and most women in your position don't tell still nowadays. And I would like to talk about that. So you're not shy from speaking about your in vitro fertilization, your IVF process. And that's not something, as I said, that everyone does, especially in professional environments. So, what led you to make that decision?
I felt that it's a need. When I was in the middle of the IVF process, I felt very alone and I couldn't find a lot of information. And it was not 50 years ago, I don't know. It was 9 years ago. I learned with experience, with every step that we were taking, that this is a very hard process, not only physically for our body, but also mentally speaking. And being alone or feeling that you're alone in this process because no one in your environment, in your network talks about it. It's again the role model thing that I was talking about when I start working. But here's the same. I mean, if you don't feel that or you don't see anyone that has walked through the same path that you're walking, yes, it's I don't know. It's a very alone process. So I decided that I mean, I'm not talking about it with everyone, but if I feel that the other person is going through this process or may start going through this process or has done through this process, it's something that I share for sure.
And as you're saying, the role model is helping a lot. And especially, I think the most of the weight of the whole process, the IVF process, the injections, the appointment, this emotional weight that you were mentioning, even the logistics, everything falls in the woman. And all of this happens while you're still working, still leading, still being productive. How did you manage that?
I don't know, surviving, I guess. mm, what I realized at the end of all the process is that I am stronger than I thought. And yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, I'm a very straightforward person. So we identified, let's say, quite early that something wasn't working. So instead of waiting, I booked a doctor appointment and and, and we both went to check, my husband and myself, and we identified what was not working. Uh, And and for me, everyone, I think that even if at the end the IVF process can seem the same for everyone, it is not. In my case, we started it, or I started it because my husband had an issue. So all the doctors were saying, "Yes, you're perfect. Your health is perfect. Everything is perfect. So it's only your husband. So we need, because of this, we need to go through this process, and it will work at first time that you will we will do a transfer." I was like, "Oh yes, that's big news! Oh wow!" Yeah, I was not super happy because had to go through all these injections, blah 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 blah. But I was like, "Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. It will be quick, and we'll solve it." Uh, the reality is that it hasn't been that quick. I mean, we started, we tried one, two times, three times, many times. It wasn't working. So as a couple, it was also very, 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 very hard because I was somehow punishing my husband because he was the one that had the issue, and it was unfair. I know, and I realized afterwards and after talking a lot with him because it's a physical issue that he had. I mean, well, it's his body. It's not that he decided to have this issue, but it was very difficult doing this. And then I decided that I needed help, a psychological help. I booked an appointment with a psychologist, and it helped me a little bit to accept and to move forward. And at the end, it worked. But we had decided that if it didn't, And I had decided, because at the end it was my decision, because it was my body, that if the last try wasn't working, we would stop. Because as a couple, we were okay, we were happy. We knew that we would have a different life. At the end, it worked, and we have a different, very different life with our son, and we are very happy. It's again, I learned also that as a society, women need to have children, which is something that I totally disagree. And from then on, I start realizing how many people ask couples when are going to have children, and when they have one, when are going to have the second one, and without considering that maybe they have taken this decision, that maybe because they wanted like this, but maybe they have taken this decision because they couldn't go through the other path. So I think that it's very important not to pretend that everyone needs to do the same, and accept this. And if you don't have, I mean, I think you always have options, and sometimes the life guide you through the option that is better for you. So accept it.
Wow. That's a lot. Thank you for sharing that. And I think, as you're saying, it's expectations from society and how are they put on us. They condition how we go through the path. Thank you again for being open and sharing your story. And you mentioned a little bit that, like, one something you learn about this yourself is how strong you were that you didn't realize. What else did you learn about yourself through all of this that couldn't maybe have learned otherwise?
Sometimes we need to be shaken to react and learn. I think that all different things that life has put in front of me, I take them as learnings. And yes, and they build, or they are building, or these things are building who I am. And I'm different than I was 20 years ago or 10 years ago.
Mm. And I think it's wonderful you do that similar because you're just mentioning it's like learning. And I just wanted to talk about something that I think it's very connected to all of these points. It's uncertainty. I think in the work, in the market, in your professional identity itself, because you've navigated a lot uncertainty throughout your personal professional life. So working as well in a volatile environment like you in sectors that transform, in companies that restructure, roles that disappear or reinvent themselves. What have you learned about the staying on your feet when this ground is so shaking, it's moving around?
I recently learned a word that it describes it quite well, which is at- ataraxy.
What is that? Can you explain it, please?
And I think it's pronounced properly ataraxy in English. It describes this state of the ability of keep this state of calm while outside of you everything is moving around. I've learned this word, as I mentioned, recently, and I think that recently I learned to I'm still learning this ataraxy state, but it hasn't been easy. I mean, while I was starting my own businesses, my own projects, I didn't know if they would survive. I didn't know if I would have new clients or customers that would pay for it. So it was a huge uncertainty. And then I decided to move into the corporate world, and everyone was saying, "Yeah, because in the corporate world, you have more certainty." And I discovered that this is not true. I mean, when I was working for myself, I took all the decisions, and it's true. I mean, if I was gaining more or less customers, was not everything because of me, but if I didn't have enough, I knew that I had to increase my efforts on this area. But in the corporate world, many wheels are moving, and we are just numbers sometimes. And you can realize that today you're here working in a team that is super key strategic, and tomorrow strategic team is another one. And you're there, and you need to decide what to do: stay, move, or or maybe someone else has decided what to do for you. So uncertainty, I think it will be always there. Even our world today, it's full of uncertainty. This is something that we cannot fight, and at least it's something that we can accept. Mm, I try to meditate. I say try because I don't achieve it on a daily basis, but trying to keep my mind calm, it's helped me also to keep this calmness because again, I mean, we cannot change the uncertainty. So better if we learn to live with it.
We cannot change uncertainty, so how do we live with it? And moving into the same area, and as you mentioned, technology and digital world, obsolescence is a constant threat. So the change is a constant, it doesn't matter what. How have you managed as well the fear of being left behind?
Maybe because I've been in this tech digital world since I started my professional career. I never felt like this. And the reason why is because I love to read. I mean, I don't expect to be an expert of everything, and I cannot. But at least I always have this curiosity to understand what is going on. And it helps me a lot to discuss it with other people. As I mentioned before, I mean, I learn not only with the books, but also with the conversations and going to conference or having lunch with people from the sector. It helps me a lot. If I start to have the feeling that I'm missing something, I, I put myself in movement and I start to learn whatever I'm missing or try to understand what is happening. And I'm sure that I'm missing a lot of things, but at least those that I want to have under control, I think I have them.
Keep learning and manage as much as you can control.
I
And
think this
just
is the word that I must repeat during this conversation. But I really feel that this is the way.
mhm, continuous learning is your motto, so I like it.
Exactly.
Just to get to the closing of the chapter as well, I want to go what's most essential because through everything you've lived, everything you shared today, your career, the woman in mobile, your IVF process, the whole uncertainty, there's something that's kind of being your compass, your guide. So, looking at everything you've built, what would you like to be remembered?
Oh, wow. That's a deep question. If at least I have inspired or I have helped, inspired, I think it's too much, but I have helped someone to decide or to reconfirm that they are on the good path. I feel happy with that. I think that sometimes we need people to guide us, to mentor us. And this is something that sometimes I do more, I mean, on purpose, so being the mentor of someone, but sometimes it doesn't need to be someone that you're mentoring, even with a conversation. So if I need to be remembered by someone, I would say that being this person that has helped them decide their path or confirm that their path was correct. And this is something that I like to do, for example, with people in my team to challenge them and to make them think if what they are doing is what they really want. And if it's so, I mean, what else they can do to improve and to go out of the box? Because sometimes we are put in our career, professional path, and sometimes we don't think much so if this is what we would or not. So, and if you're happy, you don't need to think anything. But sometimes there are many people that it's not really happy doing what they are doing, and it's they are doing it because it's what they have been meant to do. So yes, I at least maybe shake someone would be what I would like to be remembered.
And I'm sure with this conversation, you've shaken someone up, listening to what you've been sharing with us. And getting ourselves out of this autopilot that sometimes we are. And just
Exactly.
building on that, if you could speak to a past version of yourself in, for example, in your 20s, what would you say to yourself?
Maybe a sentence that would summarize what was coming in that decade. For example, in my 20s, let your path. Don't get influenced, which is something that I didn't, but sometimes, as I mentioned, I wasn't sure I was on the good path. So let your path and be ready for what is coming.
Lead the path and be ready. And just last question, the one I ask every single guest to this podcast. And you know, the podcast is called Hats On because we women wear many hats: the professional, the founder, the partner, the daughter, the mother, the one who cares, the one who doubts. So, in one sentence, which hat are you wearing today that you are most proud of?
One hat that you missed when you were asking the question. Today, I'm wearing the sister's hat. Being here today and supporting the lines of your projects makes me super proud. So, yeah, it's sister hat 100%.
Wow, I wasn't expecting that. Thank you for being here, for what you do, and for telling it with this much honesty. To everyone listening, I hope something in what you heard today gives you something. Maybe a question to sit with, a permission to give yourself, an action to take, or simply feeling that you are not alone in what you're living now. This is Hats On. Until next time.